Like, I can play a kind of more hip-hop oriented show and get my buddy Brad and my buddy Carson on bass and drums, and they can like groove out and give it more of like a bounce to some of the songs. Or I can just grab my acoustic guitar and play the 200 like gutter punks underneath a bridge in Toronto and just speed everything the fuck up.
Which
like,
is a true story. He's not exaggerating under a bridge.
It's true. The Under the Bridge show, it's kind of a yearly thing here. It hasn't been the last few years because of COVID, but yeah, I can grab my acoustic and just play everything a bit faster and yell it a bit more, and it kind of adapts accordingly in that way. And that's kind of what I've always wanted to do with my music as well, right? Is like just have not really be able to be placed in a genre, but be able to fit in among other musicians of all different genres.
What's up, everybody? How are you doing today? Last week I posted an audio-only version of the Creative Imbalance, and it was just me. It was called Just Checking In, and it got such a nice response from people, all these private messages, and it seemed like you guys really liked that content, and it sparked something in my brain to maybe do that style of episodes with guests we already had on the podcast. So no need to go into their origin story again. You can go back and listen to it. And actually, there's many with this one, because today, for the fourth time, we got our homie Joe Cash on the show. Musician, filmmaker, and just all around a pleasant guy. Today, we check in with him. He tells us what's going on right now, some lessons he learned over the pandemic, and we both get into some deep talk and some very, very fun talk, as we also talk about his collection of 90s stuff. He gives us an in-depth look into the Toronto punk scene, which he's very close to, and we both share some stories of some of the debauchery we got into, and it's very unique debauchery. As some of you guys know, me and Joe both filmed for the battle rap league King of the Dot, and the early days were madness. And around that, we with our videography life, even outside of King of the Dot, when we're filming shows, we're always at clubs and stuff, and there was a mix of work and play, and sometimes the scales would get tipped more towards the play. And yeah, you're gonna hear all about this in this episode. It's so great to check in with Joe, and here we go.
I got to go to 3 concerts, and so the first one was 90s Fest, which was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. But then with the band Lime Ricky I work with, we did our video release show at the Bovine, and I was just having like a weird day. Like I had like a 4-hour long anxiety attack because I wasn't used to like, I didn't even perform. I just had to make sure my laptop didn't suddenly cut out while the song was playing. But I'm not used to being in front of like that much pressure because it's been so long. And then I did some photos at the Anti-Queens and Danko Joe show at the Phoenix, and then everything shut down again. So I got a little bit of fun in there, but yeah, who knows? I'm glad stuff's opening up. Hopefully it'll last, and hopefully I get to go to another concert or play another concert.
Yeah. And you mentioned 90s Fest. Most people listen to the audio versions of these, but if you are watching the YouTube version of this or on the Patreon, you can see in Joe's background, he's got the 90s memorial of like collection of things you can't find anymore. He's got a Sodalicious Orbit. Actually, I want you to tell people about Sodalicious. Actually, I know there's a couple of Americans who listen to this, so I don't know if did they have Sodalicious in America? Or
I would think they did, just because the guy I got this from was in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
I would assume, unless he moved there and brought it with him or something. But yeah, basically for those that don't know, Sodalicious was this fruit snack candy that was shaped like either little soda, like root beer mugs, like a frothy root beer mug, or like little glass soda pop bottles. They're from like the late 90s into the early 2000s. They were discontinued around the same time, like the PTAs and stuff wanted healthier snacks in schools, and they were banning soda from schools. So that's why a lot of the fruit candies you see today have like fruit shapes, because it's supposed to encourage healthy eating, so to speak, which is just preposterous to begin with. Like they're balls of gelatin and sugar, right? But,
yeah.
So yeah, I managed They hold a very dear spot to me, mainly because I always wanted them. So when my parents would get them, because they were a little on the pricey side for fruit snacks, it was like a big deal and would only happen once in a while. But I managed to find this one after about, I'd say 4 to 5 years of scouring the internet. And it was this whole process. So on like the 5th page of Google Images one day, I found a photo of a random loose pack that was tied to an old shutdown sales website that was tied to a username. Then I Googled, which popped up as a eBay username, and then I messaged that person, and then it turns out his listing for this box of Sodalicious wasn't being shown in Canada because of some weird eBay restrictions, but he was able to put it up as a collectible instead of a food item, and I was able to purchase it. And then and then we had to wait like 4 or 5 months because there was that whole mail debacle with the U.S. Postal Service back in 2020, where like Trump shut everything down. I can't even remember what happened. It was like both so long ago and not that long ago now. But yeah, I managed to get my hands on it. It's completely sealed, and he sent me. He also sent me a pack. Oh, I see. No, it's on my other shelf over there. But just a loose pack of the Slam and Soda root beer flavored ones. And if you go on my YouTube channel, just Joe Cash on YouTube, you can watch me and my buddy Johnny open up that pack from 1999. This box is from 2002, but we opened up the pack in 1999 and ate the candy. And I'm still here to tell the tale. I had a wicked bad stomachache later that night. But like, I also think I had like some Burger King and maybe like some ice cream, and like my lactose intolerant ass just wasn't having any of it. So who knows what?
So
really
you're not totally positive it was the 20-year-old snack that killed you that day,
right? But I also there's many factors, but I also won't say that it wasn't, just because I'm not trying to encourage everybody to go around eating 21-year-old candy. But
discretion.
But
if you want to live vicariously through Joe, check out his YouTube channel and watch that. And definitely we're going to share the link of that as well. It was so hilarious. And even like, I remember the day you posted that video, I was so like stoked, but almost like that same feeling you get when you're about to like watch a new like Jackass movie and they're about to do something really fucking stupid. It's like, yes, he's going to eat 20-year-old candy. Let's go.
Right.
You get that same like rush, but also like warmth in your heart. Like,
it's true, man. There's like a weird adrenaline rush that comes with even doing it. And I know what you mean though, watching that stuff. It's like I'm trying to go see the new Jackass movie this weekend now that theaters are open. Hopefully it won't be sold out, but payday's Thursday, and I'm going to try and go Friday or Saturday. And it's that same feeling of like anticipating somebody doing something that's possibly very stupid.
Yeah, hell yeah. And let me know if you're going. I'll go with you if like you said, if it's not sold out, or we can check a matinee or some shit. Also, I was listening to Steve-O's got a great podcast too, where he talks to like all those guys. And I thought this Jackass was going to be toned down because they're like a lot older, but apparently they're like, yeah, like we almost died, and this is definitely going to be the last one. We're too old. And he was saying about how the older they all get, like their bones break easier, they get concussed easier. And this was like kind of like their last hurrah, but they did not tone it down apparently, which is making me very intrigued. And also they said this is like the most like hospital trips they ever had filming like a movie, just because they're all brittle now and like going gray and everything.
Yeah, I mean, as I get older, everything starts to hurt more. Hangovers get worse. Like, for how bad my hangovers have gotten now at like 31 compared to 26, I can understand why them, in their 40s and 50s, probably shouldn't be firing themselves out of cannons anymore. So, yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm glad they were able to get one more out, though.
Yeah, actually interesting, too. Like, I've been thinking about the hangover thing too, like myself too. I'm getting them real bad as the older I get, and which is making me drink less. But for a long period of time, like how I kind of knew you, like we started shooting for King of the Dot, and it was a half work, half almost party like experience. You remember, like or don't remember, like just waking up and
Yeah.
hoping I captured this on film type of thing. And that's something I think about too. And it was such like a magical, like reckless time. Like I've never been like a touring musician or whatever, but at least once a month we'd have, or a couple times a month, because sometimes we do tryouts and stuff. It's like we're all there in a club. We'd film the battles, and then after it's party time. And it's like
Yeah.
I go to work, have a good time, and then I feel like some of those earlier shows too, even what I would get paid, I would spend it all at the bar like that
Yeah.
night.
Oh, that was
You
always an issue.
you just break. Yeah, it was an issue, but also it's like I think back, it's just like, whoa, those were amazing times, and I don't think my body can handle doing it that often anymore.
Oh hell no! I like
Yeah.
if I even have to like go grocery shopping one day, I cannot drink the night before because I
Mhm.
won't do anything the next day, or I just like I don't trust my body to survive out in society the following day. It's like if I'm not like close enough to a washroom or a water source, I can't deal with it. I can't handle it. And like the big thing that gets me is being tired, man. Like I spend the whole day the next day fighting sleeping like the entire day, and then just so I don't ruin my sleep schedule, and then like 11 p.m. comes around, it's like, yeah, I can go to sleep, and I'm wide awake till 4 a.m.
Yeah. It's like it's more taxing too. I also feel like now, just like with lockdowns and stuff like that, it's my work situation's been off and on where it's I can't afford to just piss my money away too for
Right?
nothing. I got to be a little more frugal. But I also, on a positive note, I do notice when I do party and it's more occasional, it feels extra special, you know? It's not like, oh, this is just another day, I'm drunk again or whatever. And it's I had a moment where it was like New Year's, and I was just chilling by myself, like most people were locked down. And I
Mhm.
noticed just there's a bar beside my house, Far Side, and every
Right.
time I walk by, like the people who work there are nice, like we wave, but I never really go sit at the bar. I'm like, I'm gonna go there for one drink. I'm like, I haven't had a drink in like weeks. I'm like, and I didn't even expect to get drunk. I'm just gonna go say hi to the bartender, have a fucking old fashioned, and give him a nice tip and leave. Ends up it's last call. Me and the whole bar, we're all buying each other shots. Next day, I walk up to that bar. I'm like, oh my god, did I pay my bill? I don't remember going home. And he's like, yeah, man, you said goodbye. And he's like, you live next door anyways. I could just knock on your door. It's no big deal. But from like not doing that all the time and just doing it that one night, it just felt extra special, you know, and I didn't feel guilt about it. I don't know if you've ever been on a binge and you get that weird guilt or like
1000%, man.
I said weird
1000%.
guilt, but it's not weird. It's just like it's a necessary guilt. I think it's your body and
Yes.
your mind being like, yo, you can't do this all the time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's actually interesting you say that because I was talking about this with my dad recently, and it's like if I like get drunk like one day and like just waste the day and like wake up and I'm super hungover and waste the whole next day, it's like I feel like I should have been doing shit and I didn't, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I'm like, oh my god, maybe I've ignored like one or two things I was supposed to do, whether they were semi-important or really important. But I don't mind, like, say, going to hang out with some of my punk buddies and we spend 2 days drinking, but also working on an entire pilot for a TV show we've created or recording a whole bunch of songs or something. So then it's like, oh yeah, I was an absolute piece of human garbage for 2 days, but we got an entire pilot that we're going to shop around now or something. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's
So
like
I
some productivity with the like half work, half play type of thing, you know?
exactly, that's the thing. And it's like, it's kind of like what you were saying. You can boil it down to two things: one like special occasions, and one like working productivity. If I'm at the studio with a bunch of homies, especially like these days with the lockdowns and everything and the wishy-washiness of how many people could be in a indoor space at a time, it's like now if I get to go to the studio with a bunch of homies for the night and I have some drinks and like I wake up the next day and it's like, look, we recorded like 3 songs. Then it kind of takes care of both those things. It's like I got something productive done, and it was a special occasion, seeing friends I haven't seen in a while, getting to go out and actually do something outside of like having to sit at home with these lockdowns or whatever, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. I feel that that's extra important too. And I've been at times like overly isolated, and I'm reminding myself just to get out when you can. Even sometimes like when they're saying it's kind of dangerous, like there's safe ways to do it, and like kind of like hang
Yeah,
with your friends who've also keeping it safe too. And I've been fine and
exactly.
just been doing that, and like never had an issue, haven't had like COVID or anything. So I don't
Right.
know. I feel like there's a safe way to do it, but it's cool to hear that you've been doing that with like the Lime Ricky boys. Those guys are awesome.
Hell
One
yeah.
thing I noticed actually from meeting you too is how um, just prevalent a punk scene is in Toronto, where I feel like it's kind of like a hidden gem, but there's so much quality like punk bands from like the Lime Rickies to the Filthy Radicals, and like just there's just like it seems like it's like thriving. Even your buddies like Piff Break and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's all very excellent music. And yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting because it kind of flies under the radar. And there's like this weird thing too with the Toronto punk scene where like it's one of the last, I shouldn't say it's weird, but it really feels to me like between the underground punk scene and the underground hip hop scene here, like it feels like one of the very last like really community oriented, like connection driven scenes, music scenes in Toronto. Like it feels like going out in like the 2000s, like the early to mid 2000s, when I used to go out to the majority of the punk shows as a teenager and shit. It's like everybody shows up to each other's shows or video shoots, and like everybody hangs out outside of those things too. It's not just like, oh,
Mhm.
the people at the shows and stuff. It's like we're all constantly creating and working on stuff, whether it be YouTube content or music videos or starting side projects. Like I'm starting a side project with Tyler from Lime Ricky, our buddy Davey from Dead Cemetery, and Molly from the Filthy Radicals.
Yeah,
Are
she's
working,
she's awesome, by the way.
right?
I used to love her last band, Copper Crown. It
Copper
was
Crown,
so yeah.
so dope. And but that's the thing is like it's still it still very much feels like there's an actual like community here versus just like the same people that go to shows and only big shows to see big bands, and then like that's the only time you see these people out. And there's nothing against that. I know a lot of people have families, jobs, responsibilities and shit, unlike, me. But it's still a community out there, and people don't really realize that until you get out and get involved. Like look how many people you've met even just randomly in the last 2 years, like the couple times we've seen each other when cases have been low and it's been safe to hang out and stuff. Like
Hmm.
next thing you know, we're all in a park with like Lime Ricky and then like the punk scene, but then like all of a sudden Bobby from fucking Dead Celebrity
That's like,
Status
yeah,
is
shout
there.
out to Bobby. And then
And
like at your
then
birthday, that chick from like a Bad Waitress, and like it's
yeah,
just like
exactly, right?
it seems like if you look at the scene from afar, you wouldn't notice how like tight knit and almost strangely connected everybody is. And yeah,
Yeah,
you mentioned Bobby, and his band's like kind of from a couple generations back, and
yeah.
he's still like woven into the brand new scene, and like it's so cool, man.
It,
Like
it really is.
yeah.
It's an interesting time to be a punk rocker in Toronto, or no punk rockers in Toronto.
Yeah. Even I noticed too, like basically like I think I'm pretty sure like I got connected to all this because of you, and just going out to even your shows, which aren't technically punk rock. It's kind of like an acoustic type of mellow vibe, but you're so embedded in that scene where the whole punk community are going to be like, yo, let's watch Joe play some sappy songs, or like have
Right?
you open for them too on a punk show, or even you being part of like hip hop shows as well, just because of your connection. And it almost goes what I find a beautiful thing about you and your spirit too, it crosses all genres, like it doesn't matter, but it's also very like genuine. Like you can put Joe Cash on a hip hop show, you can put Joe Cash on a punk show, you can put him on a rock show or just an acoustic night, and it's not out of place. Even comedy shows, like I did a comedy show, you played it too, it just fit in. There's something where
I was
you
gonna
are
say
able
that
to
show had
morph and
everything.
yeah, but it's just kind of I don't know, it's just a vibe you portray that is it's authentic, and it's just realness, and it connects to other genres that are raw and real as well.
For sure. And I appreciate you saying that, because that's something I've always kind of strived to do. And I think part of that comes from like my backgrounds in punk rock and hip hop, even though I like, and you can see the influences in my music there, like, writing basic structured songs with like short to the point lyrics, but that are like, still have that rawness to it. Occasionally, maybe flowing it up on a part of the song where it sounds like a bit of a rap or something. Like, there's that there, but yeah, the rawness, the authenticity, and like I'm able to adapt my songs in some ways too. Like I can play a kind of more hip hop oriented show and get my buddy Brad and my buddy Carson on bass and drums, and they can like groove out and give it more of like a bounce to some of the songs. Or I could just grab my acoustic guitar and play the 200 like gutter punks underneath a bridge in Toronto and just speed everything the fuck up,
which
and
like, is a
yell
true
it, right?
story. He's not exaggerating. Under
it
a
is.
bridge.
It's true. It's true. The Under the Bridge show, it's kind of a yearly thing here. It hasn't been the last few years because of COVID, but yeah, I can grab my acoustic and just play everything a bit faster and yell it a bit more, and it kind of adapts accordingly in that way. And that's kind of what I've always wanted to do with my music as well, right? Is like just have not really be able to be placed in a genre, but be able to fit in among other musicians of all different genres.
Yeah, that's beautiful too. Even I remember being free for the Under the Bridge show, but also I remember talking to you because immediately after seeing your set, I would have had to go to something formal.
Yeah,
I think it was. I think it was
wasn't it
like
a wedding or something, or
I forget. All I remember, I was wearing a dress shirt, dress
right.
pants, like nice shoes, and I was talking to you, and you're like, "Yo, it's fucking muddy under here."
yeah. Like, you know what, man? If you got to go somewhere nice,
yeah,
like people, because I was, and as I was talking to you, I was watching people like just loop out on their ass and just slide down the mud in the hill and like drop all their shit. And I was like, yeah, you know what? It's probably a good idea you don't try and come under here, because they're not going to let you into whatever you have to go to next.
Yeah, that's the only time I've been free and you were playing, and I passed on going. Ever.
Hey man, I don't blame
Hopefully
you.
It's the last.
Yeah. Hopefully I get to play another one of those shows. I love doing shit like that.
Yeah,
I want to organize something along those lines, like maybe like mid-spring to early summer, if like people are feeling safe enough, but like playing outdoors, like even one of the last times you saw me, was it the last time you saw me? But
with Lime Ricky.
Yeah, when we played at Bickford.
Yeah,
underneath like the school, because it was like raining or whatever. And it's like, yeah, like I love doing stuff like, I've always loved doing stuff like that more than playing in a venue, mainly because I can bring my own beer.
yeah.
And nobody has to pay a cover or like buy drinks and stuff, right? And but other than that, like those are the shows that I've always kind of really enjoyed the most.
Yeah, that was a beautiful day too, especially another pro about like kind of playing outside in a park too, where people wouldn't expect it to, is people walking by turning and being like, oh, what's that? And I remember Lime Ricky was there just like fucking shredding, like fucking punk, and this lady's walking with her dog, and you could tell she's a punk rocker. She had like patches all over. And she was like, whoa, what's going on here? And like went like right up to him, like taking all these pictures, but like she didn't like know anybody. Like this is an awesome magical thing she just stumbled on in a Sunday afternoon, you know?
Yeah, she was just walking by with her dog, and like that's gotta be awesome too. I would love that, like just walking around downtown and all of a sudden there's just a punk show going on. Like, I'm about to go to the LCBO and come right back, guys. Like, see you in 15 minutes. Keep playing.
And that's a thing too for people like who are outside of Toronto, to let them know beers at venues are so expensive. It's like it's It's roughly
criminal.
$10 too if you're gonna tip. It's usually like 8, 9 or something like that.
That's the
And
thing, people forget about the tip, right?
yeah,
Because it's
because you
like,
got a tip too.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, only $7 beers. It's like, yeah, but really it's $9 beers because you're tipping $2 on each beer.
Yeah,
You
it's
know what I
just
mean?
the
Like,
way it is. And I remember when we were doing King of the Dot, I used to, this is when I was getting conscious to what we were talking about, where I was spending all my money at the party afterwards,
yeah,
where I decided, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore, and I'm going to sneak in beers in my camera bag, because obviously you're not supposed to do that, but I have equipment and bags coming in. But what I would do is I'd be at a show like a month prior, and I'd look at the bar and be like, okay, what tall cans do they have in the venue here? And I remember the big thing around the Opera House stuff was they were selling Coors Banquet. So
right.
I ended up buying a ton of Coors
Of course.
Banquets. From I probably had like 8 beers, which would have cost me the price of like buying 2 beers in the venue. And
Yeah,
I
for sure.
strategically put them under like all my lenses and cameras, and just like, so the top of my bag was all like the equipment, and under was all the beers. And I remember there's this one instance, the security was so adamant about like checking every piece of camera equipment, and they went backstage, and I remember like getting a little panicky, and I ran away. And I think it might have even been you or Julian or somebody that came up to me and was like, hey, security's like wants to look in your bag and looking for you and stuff like that. And I just kept hiding and hiding, and apparently they actually did open the bag.
So
And
yeah, I was gonna say I was there when they opened the bag.
yeah, so I was in another room or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
What was your perspective? They just looked and it like they didn't see anything and just.
So it was kind of funny because they were very adamant about searching everybody's bags. So the thing was, Sandeep had a backpack there with like 10 fucking liquor bottles in it. And I was like, and they walked up and they're like looking in bags, and they got to me, and then your bag was sitting next to me. And I was like, all right, I gotta be honest with you guys, because I didn't know about the beers in your bag. You hadn't told me yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta be honest with you guys. This backpack here in front of me, pointing to the one that Sandeep had brought in, I was like, is filled with liquor. It's supposed to be for the staff and battlers and stuff for afterwards. I don't know why they brought it in here, but can I just run it out to the car or whatever? I can't remember what I said, but run it out to the car for later and put it in the trunk. And one of the security guards was actually a guy that I sold weed to in high school. And so he already liked me. So he was like, yeah, man, of course, or whatever, right? And what ended up happening was they were like, whose bag's this? And I was like, oh, that's mine or something. And then they just like opened it and looked inside, because I had already been like, oh, don't worry, I'll bring out all this liquor. And it was kind of like one of those decoys of like, oh, hey, cops, you're taking my weed. Here, I'll just offer up the 2 grams in this pocket, but I won't tell you about the 4 grams in this pocket.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they think you're doing something, right? And so they looked in, and I swear they even kind of shuffled some stuff, but like didn't really take everything out. They're like, yeah, it's all good or whatever. And then because they had to walk with me up to the venue door to bring the stuff out, so I didn't just go and like hide it somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember getting back, and you were back, and you were like, did they look in my bag or something? I was like, oh yeah, they just checked. And then you kind of opened it up, and you're like, oh, cool. And then you pulled out a beer, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? And you're like, yeah, I got like 8 beers in here.
So much in there. That's why I was hiding. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. They're gonna kick me out. Because I was thinking I was just gonna get booted from the venue. And
well, and we're supposed to be like working, and like you were doing like, I think you're doing like the interviews, the post battle interviews and stuff, like Dirtbag Dan and shit, right? So it was kind of like, man, I can't get kicked out because then I don't get paid, and like then like it just reflects poorly on me all around. Yeah, that was some funny shit, man. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I remember the moment of me pulling it out after the whole like security fiasco, and just like you being like, oh my god. And then I remember like even later on in the night, like Dirtbag Dan's doing the interviews and I'm recording him, and we're just waiting or something. I'm like, hey, you want a beer? It's like, he's like, yeah, like he's thinking I gotta like run to the bar or whatever. Just fucking pull it out of it. He's like, what? It's like, you holding out on me. Oh man,
It's
good
funny how
times. Good.
often, yeah, it's funny how often stuff like that happened at those events, though.
Yeah.
That like you almost forget about some of them because it's like, oh yeah, that happened, and then you start thinking about all the other times shit like that has happened
Yeah,
too,
I
right?
feel like the craziest ones were at the Annex Rec Room. I don't know. We were all just like we were savages around that time. I feel
Yeah,
like after those events, we started maturing. Like, okay, we need to focus more on our craft and
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
take it a little easy. Like, if we're gonna drink, like drink later, type of thing. But those were
right.
funny. I remember like we also had like double the camera crew too. So like if somebody fucked up, it wouldn't be much of an issue. There's somebody would have an angle, like there'd be like 8 camera shots on the ring. But I remember
Yes.
one time I had my camera in one hand and I had a mini pitcher of beer in my other hand. And I'm just filming a battle. I'm like just pointing in the right direction.
And nobody bats an eye either. That's the other
Oh
because
no,
everybody else
no.
is doing it too,
It's all
right?
like the hosts, like Golly and shit. They're just like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, yeah.
Never lost any footage though. I had times where I'm like, oh please, I hope everything recorded. And I look, I'm like, thank fucking God. And
Yeah, I never had any issues with that either. I mean, that's why we always had at least a 2 camera setup. Because I mean, like there was the one time World 4 maybe. It was the day 3 when it was the same night the cops shut it down. But it
yeah,
was
yeah.
it was during the A Ward franchise battle, and I was shooting main cam with my fisheye, and my camera started like overheating and like shutting off, and I had to like whisper to you to like take over main angle with your camera, and then me and Mark Hall had to jump off to the side and start like trying to figure out what the fuck was going on with my camera. But luckily we had like 2 or 3 other people on the stage at that point. And I was pretty sauced at that point too, because it was like one of the last 2 battles of the night. So like I'm also like really buzzed, like trying to keep an eye open, like to see what's going on with my camera,
Yeah,
like fumbling around in the dark corner of the venue. And
yeah.
but you know what? It's like even still, we didn't lose any of that footage or audio. And I think that whole debacle only lasted maybe like half of one round.
Yeah. And
We
even
recovered.
yeah, what was crazy too, it's like that night too, the cops came in and pretty much shut down the event. And at the time, I remember everybody being so furious, but it turned into one of my favorite moments of filming battle rap. Because so our venue got shut down, and we're all like, "Fuck it, let's go across the street into the alley." And and we're all in the alley. We fire up the cameras, like the lights, and it was frack against somebody, but everyone's cheering, "Yeah, fuck the police!" Like it looked so cool on film. And then Frack's first line was like a freestyle, and it was some, I forget how he set it up, but he said like he related Black Lives Matter to Frack Lives Matter because they shut him down like middle of his round, and just
That's
the
right.
whole
Yeah.
alley just erupted cheering. I'm like, oh, that was a cool moment. Like so many
And
like little cool moments like that, just out of randomness.
because that's like the old school, like King of the Dot, like vibe of like the early days of that shit when they started it and stuff, right? So it was cool to
Yeah,
be part of a moment as somebody that wasn't there from the beginning. It was cool to be part of a moment that was kind of like the beginnings, like the same vibe as the beginnings of King of the Dot as a company and the days of the
yeah.
outdoor rap
It went
battles,
it
right?
went it got forced to be put back into its roots and everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's so cool. Like we can honestly talk for 5 hours about like battle rap and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
I want to get back
absolutely.
to you, Joe, though. Like
Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, over this time too, have you been focusing on music, or did you kind of put that to the side, or have you
So
been writing at all, or
yeah, so I definitely have been. I'm literally like this close to releasing a new video and song, and I want to say a new EP, but really, so I'm dropping in. What actually Brad was telling me yesterday, it's more of an album because it's like 10 fucking songs now.
oh
But basically,
cool, that's
basically
exciting actually.
it is, and like as for me, it's just like I need to move on to things. So a lot of the songs have already been released, like songs like Scarborough Girl and Soda Pop and Next Thursday, Summer Rain, like all that stuff, right? But I have like maybe only like 2 new songs that are going to be on this EP, Alligator Pie. I'm just mastering everything so that, because everything's come out over like the last few years through different engineers and stuff. I'm mastering everything right now just to get everything on the same level volume wise and shit, so you don't like blow your eardrums down one song to the next. I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
release that, and then I have probably 2 EPs worth of material almost ready to go. And yeah, like I've definitely gone through spurts. Like at the start of lockdowns and stuff, it was hard because like the world was just so like, what the fuck's going on? I wasn't really feeling creative. But then as things kind of got more like, as like I kind of adapted to stuff, and like things started like happening, I started like seeking more inspiration out and started writing some more tunes. So yeah, I've got some songs to go. I got a new music video that my homie C shot. Um, it's coming out hopefully any day now. I actually have to call him after we're done today just to be like, hey dude, sorry I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks. I've been like hibernating basically. But
Yeah.
there's that. I got some collabs and stuff I've been working on. I've been working on some songs for this side project with Tyler from Lime Ricky and everything. I got a lot of stuff. It's just a lot of it's in its finalization stages, which can be a difficult point for a songwriter or like musician to really finalize. Like your whole idea is down, but it's like, oh, I got to get this mastered. But then you want to start working on writing this song, or you get enthusiastic about this song, and you don't go back to just do that last little 5% of stuff that needs to be done for it to be
Yeah.
released. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on the last couple months, and especially the last month in general, is like, okay, I have all these songs, I gotta fucking finish them so I can release them, because then I can release shit and then people can listen to it and then they can want more stuff, and then that'll inspire me to make more stuff. But it's just getting those last little things out that I'm doing now, and writing a bit here and there when I feel inspired, But
Yeah.
other than that, it's just been kind of a slow grind for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And even I want to ask too, coming out of this pandemic, you mentioned hibernating. I've been doing a lot of that too myself. Lots of time in your own thoughts too. Have you learned anything about yourself or like I don't know, your journey as an artist from stepping back from everything for a while and just kind of being able to reflect and not being caught up in the whole movement of things?
Definitely. Actually an insane amount of things, because like, for example, there's been several times where I'm like, I'm, I've thought about it for too long. I'm done with doing video work for the most part, like just the odd passion project here and there. I want to go back to school and start a whole new career. What kind of career do I want to start? And then 2 weeks later, I'll be like, oh shit, people are hitting me up for music videos again. Okay, I want to do this again, right? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely been a lot of like, there's been actually a lot of that throughout the whole pandemic, and especially coming out of it on this end of things now in 2022. It's like in the last 3 years or 2 years, I've almost quit doing everything a few times. I've looked for I've looked at like college courses, I've looked for different jobs, I've applied for different jobs, and I've both like, had months where I can't write any songs because I just have no inspiration, or days where I write 4 songs in a day. And it's been a real roller coaster, like, not to be cliche in that sense, but it really has, more than any other point in my life, where the uncertainty mixed with, like, all of us are just so tired.
Yeah.
Like, whether you're tired of the division with people, or the having to constantly be safe, or like whether or not you're going to have a job in a week, or
Hmm.
whether or not you're going to get sick, or whether or not, like, the world's going to end and like the sun's just going to swallow the earth up. It's like,
yeah. Who knows? We
right?
wouldn't even be surprised anymore.
No, I think a lot of people would just be like, we had a good run. Like, us as humanity, we had a good run.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, I've learned so much about myself. But one of the biggest things that I've learned about myself is that I am still so unsure about so many things in my life that I've had to just start going with the flow. Because every time I try and plan for something, a wrench gets thrown into it, and I don't know what to do anymore, and I have to kind of restart from scratch. So if I don't plan too far ahead, then I don't have to restart over. So it's like, like this show we're working on with Lime Ricky, it's going to be like a web series initially, right, called Lime Time. It's like a mockumentary style thing, right?
Awesome.
But then as we were like editing it, and now that we have like the whole kind of first episode, like there's a solid rough cut down and everything, I was sitting there, I was like, yo, we have a pilot. Like, why don't we holler at some of these streaming services, whether it be a big one like Netflix or a local one like CBC? And it's like 4 months ago, before we filmed this thing, I wouldn't have thought that I would have a pilot that I co-directed and have a small acting part in, like ready to go to like shop around to people. So that's been kind of one of the bonuses of going with the flow. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in life now. I'm just like, fuck it, whatever I'm doing this week, I'm doing. 2 months from now, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. We'll just see. We'll see what I'm going to be doing 2 months from now.
Yeah, that's great to hear too, and something I need to once in a while be reminded of, just to go with the flow, not overthink. Just be present, and that's, I feel like, also when the magic happens, and also when you feel at ease. There's a guy, he's kind of like a self-help type dude. His name's Eckhart Tolle, and he has a book called The Power of Now, and it's pretty much like kind of like that, like living in really training you to be present, because usually like a lot of your problems aren't even existing in the moment. It's things you're thinking about ahead or like your past, but really like, and that can like beat you down and torture you. But sometimes when you look around, like look right now, like I got a roof over my head, I just ate lunch, I'm here talking to my buddy, I'm like, oh, things like this second is awesome, but
Hell
sometimes your own mind could like, if you're like thinking ahead about like something that you're have anxiety about or whatever, it could ruin your present, if that makes sense. And
1,000%.
And like it seems like you're kind of doing is kind of taking something similar, but turning it into like your work life, and just pretty much using the pieces you have, and which is wicked. Like you got that community in the punk scene, and with Lime Ricky too. It sounds like you guys made something special by just circumstances and just having fun and wanting to make things together while you can. And that's great, and definitely got to keep in touch about like the web series and stuff. I'm very intrigued.
Definitely, man. We'll talk afterwards too. Like maybe we'll kick it later this week, whether we see Jackass or not, if you want to like kick it, and like let's talk about some stuff, because I know you wanted to talk to me about working on some stuff together, and let's see, maybe I could use your hand on a few things with the show and whatnot.
I would love that, man. And it's just I got the time now, and the energy as well. Like mentally, I feel like let's rock, Joe. And that's like kind of why I think it was like the day after New Year's, I just made a status. I'm like, this year I want to make a Joe Cash video. Just I was just like in deep thought, just like, what do I want to do with my friends, and like not to be like overly deep and morbid too, but I think a lot about like just like the time I have on Earth. I think because I like, as you can see, if people are watching the video version, I got a bunch of grays in my hair too, and it's just like I look in the mirror and it's like, yo, time is ticking, baby. Like let's do things, Let's
just say there's a reason I'm wearing a hat on camera right now. I don't got the grays, but I also just don't got the hairs to go gray. So I feel you there, man. And also, we live in a world where like we've been living at death's door for the last 2 years in a lot of cases, constantly surrounded by that shit. So it really makes you kind of fucking flies. It really makes you kind of, I don't know why there's a fly in my room. It's the middle of January.
Yeah.
But it
Maybe
makes you question,
here.
hopefully, right?
Yeah.
But like, it makes you question, like, how long am I going to be here? And I need to like do some stuff with people I love while I'm here.
Yeah. That's a fucking great note to end it off on. And anything else you want to say before we take off?
You know what? Just keep an eye out on my social medias because I do have a new music video out. I'm not going to have a ton of time to promote it, but it could drop a few days from now. It could drop 2 weeks from now. So just keep an eye on my social medias, mainly my Instagram, Joe Cash, KOTD, my YouTube, Joe Cash, and I use TikTok now, apparently. So my TikTok, Joe Cash, KOTD. Those are the main things I'm on. I'm over Facebook, pretty over Twitter. So yeah, just keep an eye out for this new music that we were talking about.
Hell yeah, exciting times. And thank you for checking in with us, Joe. That's the segment now.
I love it. Thank you for checking in with me.
Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We got lots of content coming your way. Some regular style episodes with some new guests. And also, if you like this checking in with Joe Cash, let me know if there's any past guests I've had on the show you want to hear from. You want to know what they're up to now. We will make it happen. And like always, I appreciate so much of your support, whether you're listening to this or on the Patreon. And speaking of the Patreon, I gotta show my love to the co-producer, Jeremy Hopkin of Hopkin Design, the Queen, Ola Mazuka of Sonic Fold, Ryan Watkins of Ryan Radio, Amanda McKnight of Top 10 Nerd, Pat Maloney, Ryan Campbell, Danielson, Devin Staple, Devin McBride, Ramshi, he'd be a good one to check in with, he's the man, Mike Ulio, Jenny Potter, Jared Pepper Bronstein, aka Mr. Spicy, and last but not least, Francis Coffer, aka my mom. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks again, and you'll hear from me soon. Peace.